Good morning, folks. This is Ray Smith here. I want to speak today, about 15 minutes or so, about a very important subject regarding opiate addiction and senior citizens here in America. But before I speak on that, we're going to listen to a lovely song here. I hope you'll enjoy it. And I'll be back right after this. So y'all stay tuned. Well, howdy, y'all. Good morning to you. I wanted to talk a little bit today about addictions. And we've all probably known somebody, a family member or friend who had some type of addiction. But particularly opiate addiction in senior citizens here in America. Of course, you know, and we all know, that addiction comes in many, many forms. You know, alcohol, illegal drugs, prescription drugs, and other forms of addiction. But I mostly want to talk about opiate addiction if I can. Many people in this country have become addicted to opiate drugs. Now, it was pretty bad several years ago, back in 2021, 2019. But more and more senior citizens have become addicted in the past 40 years than any other age group. According to the CDC, it says addiction is a disease and an epidemic in this country, and it still is. And the excuses for addiction ranges from loneliness, physical ailments, to psychological. And, I was addicted in my 20s and 30s, not to drugs, but to alcohol. I wasn't what you would call a drunkard, not as what the Bible describes as a drunkard. A drunkard is someone who habitually gets drunk. Well, I never was that way, but I drank a lot. Of course, I don't drink no more. Occasionally I'll have a beer, but other than that, I don't drink no more. And my drink of choice back in the day was coconut rum and pineapple juice. You can use that to make pina coladas. But anyway, so I kicked that habit. I played music for 30-something years on the road and in different hotels and motels and nightclubs and private engagements and just all kinds of venues. And I used to drink. I had to drink to play music. It's sort of like it went with it. It goes together. But I kicked the habit. I woke up one morning, I said, well, a hangover. I was in my 40s or 50s. And I says, well, the future didn't look too bright health-wise. So I kicked the habit. I just quit drinking. Because I saw the future with me continuing to abuse the legal prescribed. Alcohol is a legal substance that you can buy in a bar and liquor store and a store. And, seniors over 65 is 13% of the population. But they take 33% of the prescription drugs given in the United States. That's in accordance to the National Institute on Drug Abuse. And there's an increased risk of depression and loneliness in older individuals, lacking a strong social support network. Causes some elderly people to use prescription drugs to cope with their pain. I know firsthand someone that was that way. I won't mention no names. And soon they may find themselves unable to control their use of medications with the ambiguity of painkiller prescriptions among older adults. Those on fixed incomes may use other medications so they do not have to get more of their own. The misuse of prescription drugs often go undetected by their doctors. I know some that go doctor shopping. You've probably heard that terminology. But they often go undetected by their doctors. Some know of it but look the other way. And I can name several doctors to that effect, but I won't. But the point I'm making is whether young or old, and whether the addiction is alcohol, drugs, or any other kind of unhealthy addiction, God offers help in His Word to break free of the addiction. So I offer Romans chapter 6, verse 16, and it says, "Know you not that to whom you yield yourselves servant to obey, His servants you are to whom you obey, whether of sin unto death are of obedience unto righteousness. So, whether young or old, there is hope as long as a person is breathing and willing to get help breaking free from opiate addiction. I'm being specific because what I'm talking about is mostly opiates. But any addiction is the same. You look at it the same way. Break free from it. Now, over the past 15 years or so, the rate of opioid pain reliever in the United States has soared. Now, from 1999 to 2011, consumption of hydrocodone more than doubled, and consumption of oxycodone increased by nearly 500%. And during the same time frame, the OPR-related overdose death nearly quadrupled, according to the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The unprecedented increase in OPR consumption has led to the worst drug overdose epidemic in U.S. history. And given the magnitude of the problem, in 2014, the CDC added opiate overdose prevention to its list of top 5 public health challenges. Overdose mortality is not the only adverse drug associated with increased OPR. And in a recent sample of opioid addicted individuals who switched from OPRs to heroin, 94% reported doing so because OPRs were far more expensive and harder to obtain. The increased prevalence of opioid addiction has also been associated with increases in heroin-related morbidity and mortality. Here is some signs and symptoms of substance abuse from the American Council for Drug Education, which is an affiliate of Phoenix House. And some of the more common signs and symptoms of drug use. And you need to keep in mind that if a person has any of these symptoms, it does not necessarily mean that he or she is using drugs, but it could be due to a mental or physical health problem. So I want to make that clear. But they might also be due to adolescent development. In the case of teens, whatever the cause, they may warrant attention, especially if they persist or occur in a cluster. The key change: it is important to watch for any significant changes in the person's physical appearance, personality, attitude, or behavior. Physical signs could be inability to sleep, awake at unusual times, unusual laziness, loss of increase in appetite or changes in eating habits, cold, sweaty palms, shaky hands, red, watery eyes, pupils larger or smaller than usual, unusual smells on breath, body or clothes, extreme hyperactivity, excessive talkativeness, slowed or staggering walk, poor physical coordination, needle marks on lower arm, leg, or bottom of feet, nausea, vomiting, or excessive sweating, tremors or shakes of hands, feet, or head, irregular heartbeat, runny nose, a hacking cough, puffy face, blushing or paleness, frequent rubbing of the nose, frequent twisting of the jaw back and forth. Now, sometimes people with epilepsy will do that. Deterioration of hygiene or physical health. Now, here's some behavioral signs. Change in overall attitude, personality with no other identifiable cause. A drop in grades at school or performance at work. The latter, as I stated a while ago, I know somebody who had a change in overall attitude and personality. Skip school or is late for school, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're on drugs. Because when I was a kid, I used to skip school. Change in activities or hobbies, and chronic dishonesty. Of course, now chronic dishonesty, that can be a character flaw. The law of sin and death is in all humans, human nature. Sudden oversensitivity, temper tantrums, or resentful behavior, difficulty in paying attention, forgetfulness, general lack of motivation, energy, self-esteem. I don't care attitude. There's a lot of that these days in this self-centered society. A paranoia, silliness or giddiness, moodiness, irritation, nervousness, exceeding need for privacy, unreachable, secretive or suspicious behavior. Car accidents. A change in personal grooming habits, possession of drug paraphernalia, changes in friends. Friends are known drug users. That's the main thing. You don't want to hang out with people like that if you will stop being addicted. Unexplained need for money, or stealing money or items, possession of a false ID card, missing prescription pills, complaints of a sore jaw from teeth grinding during an ecstasy high, presence of unusual number of spray cans in the trash. Now, all of those that I've read to you are symptoms of opiate addiction. And seniors have those signs, behavior signs as well. And so the best way to prevent a habit from being an addiction is don't start the habit to begin with, because it does end up being an addiction. I have a video on YouTube about addictions. And if you go to YouTube, go to Ray W. Smith YouTubes, and you'll find that video on there about addictions. But I wanted to bring this out to give you some type of education about opiate addiction, about senior citizens in America. So I want to thank you for listening, and you have a good day, and until next time, I bid you peace.